Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 6th ever episode of Lombardi Party. Whoa! I'm your host, Carsen Williams, and I gotta start by apologizing. I've been gone for a while now. I think my last show was week 3, going on week 4, and then life hit. As you know, Western North Carolina got hit with a really bad hurricane, and a lot of people had it out really bad. Boone got hit pretty bad, not as bad as a lot of places, fortunately. I believe I was out of power for only a day, out of water for about 6 days, but we're doing okay now. So yeah, I'm finally back, and I'm so excited to talk about a great game that we had on Sunday. One of the games that I was most excited for when the schedule dropped, a game that I think is between two of the best young quarterbacks in the league, the future quarterbacks of the league. It was Packers versus Houston, and the Packers, of course, came out on top, 24-22. I had predicted 32-28. I thought it was going to be a much higher scoring game, but it turns out this was a game of defense, which I just was not expecting, and I'll get to that later. But what I think is the story, the headline, is CJ Stroud versus Jordan Love, which I think is an archetypical battle of gunslinger versus Deadeye. Jordan Love being the gunslinger, and CJ Stroud being a Deadeye. That meaning that Jordan Love is going to air it out. He's going to make some risky throws, and a lot of times it's going to turn out good, and other times it's going to turn out bad. And it has a lot this season, and it did twice on Sunday versus CJ Stroud, who may not have as many touchdowns, may not have as many flashy plays, explosive plays, but he's also not going to turn the ball over. And it's always been a question of which archetype was better. And really, of course, there is no better archetype. It all depends on the players. But in this game, Jordan Love came out on top. 24 for 33, 220 yards, 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. That's a 6.7 average. CJ Stroud had a rough game against us. 10 for 21, 86 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And this is where I think we see the advantages and disadvantages of each archetype. A gunslinger is going to get his no matter what the defense is, because he's always going to take those shots. So that can win you some games, and that can lose you some games. But no matter what, no matter the defense, no matter the pressure, no matter the coverage, a gunslinger is going to give you a chance. And it all just depends on how good he is at being a gunslinger. A dead-eye quarterback is not going to give you a chance all the time because he's protecting the ball. So if the coverage isn't there, or if the coverage is there and your wide receivers or tight ends or running backs aren't open, or if he's getting pressured, he's going to hold on to the ball or he's going to throw it out of bounds versus trying to make a play all the time. And that doesn't mean that CJ Stroud isn't great at making plays. He's more mobile than I thought he was. And he makes some really timely throws. But at the end of the day, his biggest concern is protecting the football. And he's done great at that. Only 4 interceptions of the year. But only 10 touchdowns. And that's in 7 games. Jordan Love has 15 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in 5 games. So 5 less games, 5 more touchdowns, and 4 more interceptions. And that is what I would take every single time. I want a quarterback who is going to be aggressive and win me some football games. To me, 5 more touchdowns is more impactful than 4 more interceptions. And that isn't just Stroud. I love CJ Stroud, and I don't want people to think that I'm coming for him. So let's compare him to some other quarterbacks. Mahomes on the year, Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 6 games. Jalen Hurts, who I have some people in Boom Broadcasting who like to tell me he's better than Jordan Love. 7 touchdowns to 4 interceptions in 6 games. I will always take more interceptions if it means more touchdowns. Well, I won't always, because if you're only giving me 1 or 2 more touchdowns and you're giving me 5 or 6 more interceptions, then I would rather have the accurate, safe quarterback. But if you're giving me 8 more touchdowns than a player and only 4 more interceptions or 5 more interceptions, I'll take that. I'm happy with that. And that's just the advantages of being a gunslinger. No matter what defense you face, you always give your team a chance. CJ Stroud did not give his team a chance today. Joe Mixon was the reason that they scored 22 points. He scored their only 2 touchdowns. It was all about CJ Stroud just not being able to elevate the team the way that Jordan Love elevated his team. And that's why I think Jordan Love has a real case for MVP. Not right now, but I think that he could. 15 touchdowns in 5 games. Nobody else in the league, or actually Baker Mayfield, has 15 touchdowns in 7 games. And Jordan Love has 15 in 5. So he's the most touchdown-heavy quarterback in the league. But he also has the most interceptions in the league. 8. Tied with Mahomes, but he's got one less game under his belt. So, see, there are some disadvantages and advantages, but if Love can clean that up just a little bit, then I could see, and the Packers have to play well, obviously, but I could see it happening. If we hit week 12, week 13, this Packers team is rolling, those interception numbers are down a little bit, I would not be surprised if Jordan Love made a real case for MVP. Let's move on to this receiving core, which I think is one of the best in the league, one of the deepest in the league for sure. In this game, not too many showed out, but one of them that did was Romeo Doubs. That man puts the D in dog. He's him, and he had a lot of controversy earlier in the year. He wasn't showing up to Packers practices, and some people from the Packers organization went to his house, and he was just there hanging out. And it was reported that that he wasn't happy with his touches, wasn't happy with his targets. What was being reported around the Packers, inside the Packers stadium, and with their people, was that he was struggling with his mental health. And that's what it turned out to be. He said when he came back after he served a 1-game suspension for detrimental conduct to the team, he owned up to it. And he said that he did not handle the situation well, and he was going through some things that none of us know about. And that's okay. You know, these players are human, and they go through things too. But he owned up to it, and it was really heartwarming to see his first touchdown after his suspension. All of his teammates just came up, no celebrating. They just gave him a hug, and that to me really solidified the unity in this group and how together they are and how selfless they are, because that's what people were calling Dobbs, is selfish. And no, he is not selfish. But it's also right for him to want some more targets sometimes. He is a really, really good player. He, I think, is our best vertical athlete in terms of just throw the ball up to him, let him get it, let him grab it over two receivers. That's what he does best. Is just grab those balls, rip them right out of the defender's hands. He's done it over and over again. He's like our Randy Moss. I don't want to compare him to Randy Moss, but he's our Randy Moss for this team. Dontavian Wicks had a good game, 3 receptions, 48 yards, 1 touchdown. A lot of people right now are saying that we should let go of Wicks or trade Wicks or play him less. And I disagree. He has one of the highest separation rates in the entire league. He's the best route runner on this team, gets open so often. And he's had a bit of a drop problem early in this year. I think it's just more about synergy. I think it's all going to be fine. I'm not worried about it because last year he had some of the best hands on our team. So that stuff doesn't just go away. So Wicks is going to be fine, and I'm really happy that he's on our team. The guy I really want to talk about in this receiving room is Tucker Kraft. He's our tight end, and he had 3 receptions, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. And I may be jumping the gun when I say this, but I think Tucker Kraft is going to be an all-time great tight end. The way he runs with such ferocity after the catch. I mean, it takes multiple people to bring him down most of the time. Or, at least dive at his legs. And then it's still not like... he just bounces off people all the time. He just keeps going when it looks like he's about to go out of bounds, runs right at you. And every time he does tackle, it has to be a physical tackle. He is not going to let you go easy. He is not going to let you bring him down easily. He wants to get in that end zone every single time. And I truly believe he's going to be an all-time great. And then blocking, I think, is his best strength. He is one of, if not the best blocking tight end in the game, whether it's on a screen or just a regular pass, or if he's blocking in the run game. Not only is he good at just putting a body on people, but he doesn't just let them win. He battles in there. So I could not be higher on Tucker Kraft. I've said it really since last year that I think that he should have been the tight end 1 immediately, and now he is, and I'm happy about it. Our running game was not great. Josh Jacobs had only 12 carries, 76 yards. That's a 6.3 average, which is very, very good. That's elite efficiency. And he had his first receiving touchdown. What I was most happy with was what he said after the game. When people said, that's your first receiving touchdown, are you going to keep the ball? And he said, no, I'm giving it to Jordan. It was his 50th passing touchdown. And that is leadership. That is Aaron Jones type leadership. I just love how team-oriented he always is. You always hear it in the locker room and interviews. He is always about the team first, always about propping his teammates up. He makes us better as a team, and not just the way he runs the ball, the way he sets up the run so we can pass the ball, but just his presence makes us better, just like how Aaron Jones did. Everybody knows that viral clip of him physically lifting Wicks' head up when his head was down. That is a Josh Jacobs type move. I think that he has the same effect on this locker room. But I really think the best part of this game was our defense. They played an elite game. First off, props to Jeff Hafley, one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. His scheme is why we really were able to come out with this win, really. I've got a bunch of player stats and I'm going to list them off. But there were a lot of players who didn't show up very much on the stat sheet that should have. And it's all just about like how they impacted the game. Jeff Hafley was always showing pressure, 5 players, 6 players, sometimes even 7 players up front, and then he would drop them back. But what he did a lot was he crossed our defensive linemen. So the offensive linemen on Houston didn't know who to block, and it just gave us so much easy pressure. CJ Stroud was pressured on 50%, more than 50% of his dropbacks. That's insane numbers. 50% of the time, the offensive line was losing, and our defensive line was winning. And that is ginormous, especially when I think we only sent more than 4, like 17, 18%. Like that's just, it's hard to wrap your head around, really, how we won one-on-ones or 2-on-1s. We were winning them. And that's something that we weren't doing earlier in the year, and it is all about scheme. This is still a new head coach, or not a new head coach, a new defensive coordinator. These guys are still figuring out. He's still figuring out where to play these guys, how to play these guys. He's figuring it out. In real time, he is figuring it out. We can see it. And we're only 7 games in. We've still got 2/3 of the season ahead of us, plus playoffs, and we're going to make it. And then he's going to be with us next year. I don't think you can understate how bright this future is for this team, with Matt LaFleur, with Jeff Hafley, with our young pieces. Still the youngest team in the league, basically. Or maybe not even basically. Maybe technically. The future is just so bright. Our safety duo was elite. Evan Williams, 6 tackles, 3 assists. Xavier McKinney, 5 tackles, 1 assist, 1 sack. Our linebacker duo was elite. Eric Wilson, 5 tackles, 2 sacks. Edgerrin Cooper, 2 tackles, 1 assist. And he was one of the ones that I'm referring to when I say the stat sheet doesn't show what he did. He's got 1 tackle where he literally just knocks an opposing player into the runner. And I don't know if they gave him that tackle, because he didn't actually even make contact with the runner. And a lot of the other times, it was him pushing an offensive lineman off of one of our D linemen, which just let them go. He was huge in this game, huge. Our cornerbacks, Javon Bullard, 3 tackles, 1 assist. Excuse me. 3 tackles, 1 assist. Jair Alexander, 3 tackles. Keyshawn Nixon, 3 tackles, 2 assists. Not a single Texans receiver had more than 28 yards. 28 yards. I don't think a lot of us comprehend how crazy it is to hold a quarterback to 82 yards. Is that what it was? 82? 86. 86 yards. That's not the length of a football field, folks. That is the length of one pretty far drive. And that's all we had. That's what we held CJ Stroud to. He basically played one really good drive, and that's all. The D linemen were huge. Rashawn Gary, 2 tackles, 3 assists, 1 sack, and he had not been playing very well recently. This was really a breakout game. This is what he needed too. He played huge. Kingsley Enagbari, 2 tackles, 2 assists. Kenny Clark, 2 tackles, 2 assists. Lucas Van Ness, Colby Wooden. Everybody made a mark on this game. They all got pressure home. CJ Stroud knew every one of them after this game. because they all had pressure. Everybody. Rashawn Gary had C.J. Stroud running for his life in this game. And this is what the Packers need. Everybody had been saying their defense was great, and I think the last show I did, I said I was still a little skeptical because even though turnovers are great, and they are great, I think it's more valuable just having a defense that stops the ball. You don't always have to get a turnover. Can you get off the field on third downs? Can you do 4 and outs? These are the things that make a really, really great defense, and that's what they did. We had 17 turnovers in the first 6 games of the year. 17 turnovers in 6 games. That's almost 3 a game. We didn't have 1 turnover on Sunday against the Texans, and it was our best defensive game. Turnovers are great. Turnovers are what a defense wants, but at the end of the day, I would rather have a defense that can just get off the field. Because if you're turning the ball over 2 times a game, but the rest of the drives you're giving up points, I would rather just not turn the ball over and just get off the field. And that's what we did. So that was huge. This defense is just so bright. The last thing I want to talk on this game is special teams. Our special teams coach, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I'm going to try my best. Rich Bisaccia, I think is how you pronounce it. However you pronounce it, he needs to be fired. He's not very good. There were 2 huge mistakes that the Packers made when trying to receive punts. Keyshawn Nixon, ball was coming right to him. I think he was on like the 25 or the 30 or something. And he just let the ball hit the ground for some reason. Nowhere near the end zone. And he just let the ball hit the ground instead of calling a fair catch. He let it hit the ground and it bounced off Valentine's leg, and they recovered it at the 11. That ended up being a touchdown. Another time, Jalen Reed fair caught a ball at the 3-yard line instead of just letting it bounce into the end zone. These are coaching issues. These are not player issues. They're not just blah. These are coaching issues that need to be resolved. That being said, Daniel Whelan, the Packers punter, 5 punts, 284 yards, a 56.8 average. He's flipping the field every time he punts. You cannot understate how important that is. That's the difference between a touchdown and a turnover on downs or a punt on the other side. He has been truly one of our most valuable players on our team, one of the most valuable in the entire league. So I'm very happy with the win. I think it was a complete team win. There are still ways to get better, and I expect that from the Packers. I expect that from the players, and I expect that from the coaching staff. Last thing I want to do is preview the Packers versus the Jaguars next week. This is going to be very quick. It should be a blowout. The Packers are literally better at every single thing. Packers have the better quarterback. Packers have the better running game. Packers have the better coach. Packers have the better offensive line. Packers have the better receivers. Packers have the better defense. Packers have the better special teams. Not a thing that the Jaguars do, they do better than the Packers. Literally nothing. So it should be a blowout. My prediction, I'm going to say Packers 34-10. I think it is really going to be a blowout. I'm a little worried. Last year there were a couple times, specifically against the Giants, the Tommy DeVito Giants, where we lost. Sometimes there are these weird trap games where you just beat a really good opponent and then you go against a bad opponent and the team is feeling good and then it ends up you lose that game because you're a little cocky. I don't think that's what's going to happen. This team is a little more experienced than they were last year. They know that in the NFL, you can lose to anybody. You can beat anybody. So I am not too worried. I'm taking the Packers by 24 in this one. That's 3 scores. All right, guys. That's my show. That's all I have to talk about, unfortunately. But luckily for y'all, next week we'll have more to talk about. If you guys want to see more of me, I'm all over Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. So you can go watch me there. You can go watch our president there, Michael Davis. You probably know him from Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. He's got some other shows as well. Dad and the Boys, The Man Behind the Mic. So yeah, you can see a bunch of him. You can see Podcast Smitty, Shannon Smith. You can see The Gridiron Address with Aaron Schneider. You can see It Stinks with Sean Lucas. And I'm just scratching the surface. I can't go through everybody. We've got anything you want. We've got basketball. We've got football. We've got baseball. We've got wrestling. We've got cooking. We've got movie reviews. Anything you want, Boom Broadcasting has it. So just go and subscribe. Hit the like button. Hit that little notification bell. That one always gets left out. And just let me know how much you loved the show or how much you hated the show, or what you want to see next time or what you don't want to see next time. I want to hear all your feedback, and I look forward to reading it. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week.